On today's episode of the DeRaud-Messinger Show, we're previewing and predicting number 3 Texas versus number 12 Arizona State. Longhorns fans, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. It's greatly appreciated. And check us out at HornSports.com for all the latest. Now, Dylan, we talked about the rankings. The seeding is a little different. Arizona State is the 4th seed thanks to being the Big 12 champion. Texas is the 5th seed. Game info, the game is Wednesday. Happy New Year's, everybody. It's the 1st of January when this game will be held at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. No Bevo inside. We're all crying because of that, but maybe he makes the trip. You know, I believe in Bevo like many people believe in higher powers, Dylan. He can do anything that he envisions. Now, the game will be televised on ESPN, and Texas is currently favored by 13 points. Now, Dylan, get us into your Arizona State scouting report of that offense.
Well, it all starts with one man, and that man's name, not name of man, is Cameron Scadaboo, Devon, because my God, he's the 6th in rush yards in the country with 1568, and he's 8th in rush touchdowns with 19. Most importantly, he's number 2 in yards from scrimmage with 2074, behind Heisman candidate Ashton Genty. Right, so that's just the kind of season that Scadaboo is having, and he also is contributing in the passing game too, with 506 yards, with 37 receptions and 3 touchdowns, which is 2nd on the team. So this dude is very difficult to take down. Once he gets past the front line, the front 4, arm tackles are not going to work, and he's able to run over anybody in the secondary. So that is something to watch out for with Arizona State. With him in the backfield, Sam Levitt taking shots at Quinn Ewers.
Take your shots while you can, Dylan. Take them while you're up.
Hey, you got to respect the confidence. He's having a similar year to Ewers. He's got about 2,600 yards passing, 24 touchdowns, and 5 receptions, and he's been good with what he's been given. His completion percentage is around 63%, so obviously not the highest in the country, but again, what he's been able to do, getting scattered with the ball and making smart plays, he's been really good at that. With that, though, most importantly, wide receiver Jordan Tyson out with a collarbone injury. He's their number 1 receiver. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to get the ball to other players outside of Scadaboo and what Texas' plan going into this game will look like. But again, everything goes through Scadaboo.
Yeah, Dylan, I mean, when doing the research on this team, it all starts with Scadaboo. When he plays well, which is most games, they win. And Dylan, in the 2 losses they've had this year, he hasn't played as well. Even in those games, though, I think one, he has 75 rushing yards, which isn't amazing if you're the star player for the team, but is solid. But in the 2 games where he's rushed for 75 yards or less, they've lost both times, or maybe working backwards from that. From the losses, he's rushed 75 yards or less both times. Now, Kenny Dillingham. Dylan, what a head coach. I mean, you come into this conference, the Big 12, and you are picked last. Not first, not second, not even next to last. You are picked last in the preseason predictions pretty much. And he ends up winning the Big 12 conference. I mean, he has a head of shoulders of confidence in him. You're talking about the quarterback play. It seems like that's just rubbing off on all of his players. And if you're going to beat Texas, especially when they're favored by 13, you're going to need a team that has that confidence, even if they're down their top receiver in this one. And Dylan, worth noting, if you hadn't already, Scadaboo, the 2nd leading receiver for Arizona State. I mean, with Tyson gone, it's going to be an interesting shakeup to see how things play out against Texas. Now, defensively, Dylan, the Sun Devils allow just over 21 points per game, which is actually pretty solid. But overall, just defensively, nothing too flashy, I would say. I'll get into theories in a second, Dylan, which I know you love and you'll probably make fun of because I have snuck this one in here. The secondary is allowing just over 200 passing yards, 219.4 officially, while the team has allowed 117.5 rushing yards per game. Again, those stats aren't anything too crazy, pretty much middle of the pack, but yet again, it's been Scadaboo and the offense that has been carrying this Arizona State team, and the defense has done just enough. Now, Dylan, theory time. The team leader in tackles is a junior by the name of Miles Rouser, I want to say, nicknamed Ghost. So I'm just going to call him Ghost. Ghost, 93 tackles for the Sun Devils. What position does he play? He plays safety. And my theory against safeties, I love them, but if you're leading your team in tackles, I have some question marks, not for you, but for the rest of your team in front of you, because you've been cleaning up some messes. And the second leader in tackles for the team is a name that might be familiar to many Longhorn fans, Xavier Alford, the defensive back that transferred from UT to Arizona State. So you have that connection. You look at the Arizona State roster, Dylan, in all honesty, you see a lot of former Longhorns. So there has been, a pipeline from Austin to the great state of Arizona. But the secondary, yet again, has been cleaning up messes for Arizona State. But yet again, they've been efficient in doing so, Dylan. That's why they have tackles. You don't want to see a low number, and that means something's, if it's not a great defense, something's shaking up. I know I'm going all over the place. On the defensive line, transfer from Oklahoma, Dylan, Clayton Smith, 6'4". Texas guys don't like Oklahoma guys. There might be added rivalry there. And then senior defensive lineman Elijah O'Neal, also a big guy at 6'3". They both co-lead the team in sacks with 4. However, besides those mentioned names, nothing too crazy defensively for Arizona State. Now we're going to get into some more fun, Dylan, here, and I think this is where it really kicks off. X factors. I mean, is it as obvious as we think it is here, or do you have a different one for us?
Yeah, well, I think where I'd like to start is to give credit to the offensive coordinator for Arizona State with what they've been able to do. Marcus Arroyo, he's done very well from a lot of places he's come from. He helped coach Justin Herbert when he was at Oregon, then went to UNLV and really transformed their run game. So you're seeing that with Arizona State with Scadaboo. However, the X factor is going to be their passing game. I probably mentioned earlier, probably a lot of people could probably see it coming, right? Like Jordan Tyson being out for this game, they don't have that second threat, that go-to guy for Levitt in the passing game. So it's been coming down to Scadaboo a lot of times in those dump-offs. However, their third leading receiver in terms of yards is Guillory, and then, sorry, I'm backtrack, Xavier Guillory. Probably throwing his first name first. And then Shimon Medayer at tight end, who stands at 6'5", 225. All-time name X factor for me right now. But these guys are going to be squarely put in the spotlight here because with the way that Texas's defense has been playing and how they stack up, if it's just Scadaboo and Levitt having to make something happen on his own, I don't feel like it's sustainable, and they're going to need contributions from these guys or other players. So that's where I find the X factor coming into this one.
Dylan, everybody player name wise, like they're Ichiro. So I mean, you're close. I don't expect 2 names being needed at all times. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Doing my best over here.
I mean, I'm gonna go on the flip side, Dylan. In terms of what you were kind of hinting at and mentioning, but you picked the other side. You picked the receivers. I'm gonna pick Scadaboo because without the top receiver for Arizona State, Dylan, if Scadaboo does not have some sort of crazy game, it's going to be very tough for the Sun Devils to pull it off because they're not going to be able to rely on much else. I mean, the passing game definitely needs to step up, and that's why, yet again, a very capable X Factor, maybe not cheating like me over here, but you can see he loves
The
when I
X
do this.
factor is he has a big game, is what I'm hearing.
He needs to have a big game. If he doesn't, they're going to be in shock. Dylan, I mean, yet again, in the 2 losses they've had, he's had 75 or less rushing yards. You're going to have to bump that up quite a bit for this game. Probably 120 would be my number. If he has 100 that, then Arizona State, unless they're just in a defensive battle, it's not going to be too pretty for them. It's just going to be an interesting game yet again. Quarterbacks talking trash against Quinn, and the Sun Devil Nation is stepping up at the trash talk. But that's good because, Dylan, those are the best types of games we get in terms of just as a fan. When the 2 teams are chirping away at each other, that's when things get fun. I believe it was last year. Dylan, I don't know if you will remember. I want to say it was Oklahoma State. Some of the offensive linemen, I believe, were talking trash about the Texas defensive front, and they were pretty much like, we'll see you at the game. And that championship game for Oklahoma State did not go too well, but you never know. You never know.
Well, that's inherent to the Cowboys. So I I'd be surprised if they weren't. If anything, that's what you can expect.
And going to danger level, Dylan, I was just mentioning Oklahoma State last year's championship game in the Big 12. To me, this somewhat feels like a Big 12 championship. I know Texas is in the SEC now. You got the indoor stadium going. You're still a round away from being really in contention per se, Dylan. I know, of course, all these teams are still in the mix, but next round is when it gets serious. This is almost like a conference championship game. Do you think it's going to end up, though, the same way that it did last year against Oklahoma State, or is this going to be a tough game for Longhorns that you see?
I I see a lot of similarities, right? You've got, I mean, if we're talking about Oklahoma State, we had Alan Bowman who had been playing well, but there was question marks around it in terms of playing a good team, a good defense, right? And what he's able to do with his arm. And then Ollie Gordon, who was the premier running back in the country. And obviously Ashton Genty is that. But Scadaboo is right there behind him with what he's been able to do and his versatility. So very similar to that of Ollie Gordon. So there are those similarities there. However, I see it going differently because I think this Texas team has gotten better than it was last year in specific areas like the trenches, right? In the front four, starting five, the offensive line is really going to impact this game. And with the primary attention on Scadaboo, I have this danger level at a 5, just with the injuries to Tyson as well as Williams in the secondary, their lockdown corner for Arizona State. Just the talent in terms of a slugfest. I don't see Arizona State matching up the same way if Texas is playing, you know, to their own level.
Yeah, Dylan. I mean, mine is a tad higher, but pretty much at the same level. And the reason it is a tad higher is because just the confidence I have in the offense, Dylan. They did come out to play against Clemson. It did get a little slow late, and that let the Tigers come back into that game. But I still need a couple of weeks of consistent performance before I'm like, I trust the offense, Dylan. They're going to score 35 every week. I'm not there yet. I got a danger level of a 6. And it's funny, I gave you that lob there about Ollie Gordon. I'm so glad you finished it. This
I got
team,
you.
this team just does feel to me like Oklahoma State did last year. I'm not saying they're comparable in terms of how good they are overall, but just how they're built. Dylan, you made the quarterback and running back comparison. I mean, Texas last year, their strength was on that defensive line. It's been a strength of theirs this year. They were able to stop Ollie Gordon, and really that was the game. I mean, as soon as they shut down Gordon, it was lopsided, and it was really Dylan from the get-go. If you're Arizona State here, just kind of keying in on your X factor that you're talking about, the receivers have to be in play early, or else it's going to be a similar result because Texas is just going to really stack the box. You want to make sure they don't do that. So we'll see. I do give it a 6, though, because Arizona State, of course, has played many games to get to this point. It's not like they just have sprung in here via a mystery box, Dylan. You still have to wait, of course, for all the quarters to be played. But it's just, like you're saying, injury bug and overall just, I wouldn't say competition because they've played some good teams. They've beaten Iowa State and BYU. They've also dropped to Cincinnati and Tech, though, and that's the part that worries me. However, it's a new year, literally, Dylan. You never know what's going to happen. In terms of a danger level here, or not danger, excuse me, predictions from your danger level, you're giving it a 5. You going along the lines of the spread being at 13 points. What's your overall score prediction right now?
I've got Texas winning this 35-21. And I just want to say before I go on a long rant, Evan, Quinn Ewers is our guy. We've been talking about this for 4 years. And this is when you buy all the stock. I'm buying all my Ewers coin right now because he's been called out. Levin
You're
said he's the
buying
better
your Ewers
quarterback.
Quinn right now?
I'm buying my Ewers coin, is what I
Ewers
said.
coin, okay.
I'm buying all the coins I can in this situation because this is the time. The dip has happened. He's got 3 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in the last 3 games. He's being called out for the opposing QB who is yet to have a signature win against a team like Texas, right? So this is the time. And Arizona State's defense, they rank around the 70th mark in pass defense. So if we're talking about their weakness in the passing game. So I fully expect Sark to open up the playbook a little bit more, test that secondary, especially with Williams out, with what Ewers is capable of doing with his arm talent and going from a game manager and letting it fly a little bit more, as well as on the other side, Devin, to talk about this defense. Scadaboo, phenomenal player, especially with his toughness. However, he does most of his damage in the second level. So arm tackles by linebackers, getting into the secondary, right? So they're trying to get to the outside so we can get there. I just don't see that same thing happening against a front four like Texas and the feral animal that is Anthony Hill, who's going to be wanting to take it personally. Scottaboo likes to hit guys in the mouth and make them feel his presence. Anthony Hill wants that too. So I'm looking forward to when they clash in the middle of the field and what that looks like just with the sound of the pad. So I'm excited for that side of the matchup. But like I said, I think Texas's offense is going to look a lot better in the passing game with Ewers playing a lot better. And this defense, again, it's going to show why it's arguably the best in the country right now, or at least other remaining teams.
When you're talking about Anthony Hill wants that contact, not only does he want to deliver it, I think he eggs it on because he's like, oh, man, a chance to like nail someone when they're also trying to kill me. Oh, beautiful. Dylan, in all honesty, I got a little prop for you. I didn't know you were going to bring it up. This $1 is all I have left after buying the Ewers dip. I mean, I've been getting that Ewers coin. The Arizona State's talking to trash. Dylan, why? Why are you talking trash to Ewers right now? You don't need to. He has not played up to his ability, as you said. Why give him another reason to change? If you're going to step up and showcase why that Ewers coin is about to go back up, this is the game. Not only, of course, we talked about just the team overall isn't crazy in terms of the stats, and like you said, a key member is out to injury, but also you get Isaiah Bond back for yourself from injury, Dylan. I mean, he has the toys to play with once again. We're just going to have to see how well he does. And something about Quinn, I know it's not always the case as in against Georgia in a dome stadium, but Quinn in big games in dome stadium seems to do well. Now, maybe that's just too much Devon's quarterback science that he's really nailed down over the years, Dylan, along with my theories on defensive backs. But I think Quinn, he doesn't need to do anything crazy. I know we're talking about going from game manager to playmaker. He doesn't need to be Vince Young. He doesn't need to be Superman. But I think this is a game where he does take a step up in terms of this one particular game and does showcase why he's one of the better quarterbacks.
And it's not just that. I think a lot of the players on the team really like Ewers, and I think even more so Levitt taking a shot like that, not to get too into the depth of just what people are saying in a press conference, but that fires up the defense too. They're going to take that personally, and their defense is not somebody that I would want to stoke any more plays with how they're playing and how good they are.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you talked about Hill, but on the other side, Colin Simmons is just as crazy of a dog. He's been licking his chops.
You got Barron Sorrell. He's an alien. He came down from Mars too. So
and Trey Moore's finally. I mean, after midway through the season, he stepped up too. So yeah, it's a defense that's angry. And yet again, you talk about my quarterback. I think you're going to really rally the troops on the other end. So it's going to be a clash on clash. Dylan, I'm predicting 31-17 Texas. I do have that margin of victory there. I don't know how crazy they'll go in terms of stepping on the gas pedal or if it will be similar to Clemson and they've got a good cushion early and then it just slows down a little bit. I'm going to be banking a little bit more in terms of something like that, a similar result. But I do think Texas, yet again, Bond is back. How much of a playmaker will he be? I'm not sure because, yet again, we talked about consistent play. He's maybe been the most inconsistent player offensively. Now, not all his fault. He's been injured quite a bit. But it's time for him, if he wants to, raise that draft stock to similar to what it was like week one. This is the time to do it against Arizona State with everyone watching on New Year's. I do have Texas winning 31-17. Yet again, by the dip, as Dylan is saying. It's going to be a fun one. Arizona State, likes to talk. Texas likes to talk. It's going to be a great game. But more importantly than our predictions, what are you thinking about this Peach Bowl matchup? Are we crazy? Are we right? What's your Arizona State versus Texas prediction? Let us know down below. Don't forget to check us out at hornsports.com. And as always, have a great rest of your day. Please like this video. We appreciate it.